Hey, discerning listeners, The Single Life. Let's watch.
This is what you totally don't understand. You think that because I'm so connected to you that I think you need me. Have you ever thought that it was the other way around, that I needed you?
Okay. This is the first time that we've really seen this. I don't know what Colt actually thinks. He might actually know this, but this is very good. It's very promising. You might look at this and say, like, come on, but this is better than what I thought she was about to do. I thought she was about to belittle him and, insult him, that kind of thing. Again, I just wish it's, it's like a plumber watching someone that doesn't know what they're doing with their own plumbing, and there's water going everywhere. They're like, I don't know. I guess I'll just put a bucket underneath it and I'll empty the bucket every hour. Get a plumber. Get a family therapist.
I needed you. You're my son. No matter how old you are, you're 75. You're still my son.
Okay. But she's going into guilt tripping, but at least she's being vulnerable and not attacking. I mean, she's kind of attacking, but at least she's getting to the crux of the matter. And I'm worried for him, though, because if I were there, I would direct him or encourage him to don't give in to the guilt trip. I don't know how I'd communicate that to him, but I would say, don't worry about, I've said this a lot to people. I'll say something like, don't worry about a solution. Don't think about the future. Just think about right now. Colt, just think about right now. Don't worry about what this means in terms of what you're supposed to do about it. Just think right now, what's she feeling, and I want you to tend to her feelings right now. So if we just keep it to that, because I'm guessing what it'll trigger for him is like, oh, I'm being guilt tripped again. It's my fault, and I don't want to see my mom suffer. But I deserve to move. She's manipulating me again, and then he'll go after her, because we've seen that before. Like when it starts to come out, it really just starts to come out of him, which is understandable. But I don't think it necessarily helps the situation. Now he deserves to stand up and go like, I'm not going to deal with this, given the way that she's treated him. But I would direct him to tend to the feeling, and then if we just kind of got through this feeling, then two things could happen. One, she could feel taken care of without needing to invade his life, right? Because she's having an emotion and he's caring, and it's like, oh, he cares, all right? And that could maybe even fulfill her for a couple weeks, And then for him, he would learn how to be differentiated around her emotions, because a big part of his path forward is being able to tolerate this. He needs to be able to tolerate, if he wants to have a relationship with her, which I think he does, she's going to have moments like this where she's going to grieve, she's going to be sad, and he has to be okay. Like, okay, well, she's having a moment, and Mom, I care about you, and don't get defensive, right? Don't save and say, okay, fine, I'll move back in, and don't run away and say, screw this noise. You just sit with the feeling, and this is hard to do. Therapists, when I trained therapists, and when I was trained as a therapist many years ago, this is one of the first things you have to learn how to do, how to sit with someone's feelings and not try to save them, like try to fix it right away, and also not reject them, not run away. You have to sit with it. And a big part of it is to be differentiated yourself, which is there's no emergency here. It might feel like there's an emergency, like, oh my God, she's suffering. How do we stop her from suffering? Everyone's suffering. And what I tell teenagers, I used to do this work for many years where I would train 12th graders to help younger kids. It was a whole thing. But the thing I would always say every year, and it was just so great to have these 12th graders, after a number of years, they just, even though I didn't realize I said certain phrases over and over again, they memorized them as if they were somehow like these really important phrases. You know what I mean? Because they're kids, they don't know any better. Everything I say to them, to them they think that it's gold, but it's just a random therapist saying a random thing. But anyway, one of the things that I would say is emotions are our friends, in that don't be afraid of crying. Don't be afraid of pain. Don't be afraid of even demoralization. Don't be afraid of it. It's okay. It's not an emergency. We're taught that it's an emergency. Don't cry. Everything's fine. I'll fix it. It's fine. This is what it's okay. It's normal. Let the person have their feeling, and you don't have to do anything about it except just be there. Sometimes you don't even have to say anything. You just look at the person I'm with you. Okay. You're having this feeling. Relax. Everything's okay. And when I would teach the 12th graders that, because they would have younger kids that would sometimes have meltdowns, have moments like this. And when the 12th graders could just be with the younger kids while they were having a moment, it would pass. And that's all that the person needs is they don't want you to panic. They don't want you to reject. They don't want you to fix. They just want to feel like someone is there. That's who we are as humans. We are attachment creatures, and a big part of our attachment is someone with me, is someone witnessing me, does someone understand me, does someone care? I don't need someone to fix it. I don't need someone to find a solution. I don't need someone to problem solve. There'll be time for that. Right now, I'm going through a moment. Are you with me? Do you see me? Are you standing with me? So that's what I would try to get Colt to do in this moment so that he could learn, like, okay, I can tolerate her feelings. I feel the guilt trip because of all the things she's done to me, and I don't like seeing my mom suffer, but the therapist is saying it's actually superior to what? Just do nothing? I just sit here with it and just getting used to that, because that could really help her and him.
Guilt trip, guilt trip, guilt trip, guilt trip. Hello, my name is Debbie.
Right. So it's like, which is fair, but not helpful unless he's really given up and he just wants to cut off from her completely, which I highly doubt. So yeah, I think what's happening for him is he feels guilty because she is kind of guilting him, and they have a history of this. And he doesn't know how to tolerate it, so he rejects it. He just sort of attacks it, and then things will spiral out of control. It's unfortunate because she had a moment there where it was edging towards health, where she was actually showing vulnerability instead of hostility. I'm guessing it's going to turn into hostility. Let's rewind that.
Have you ever thought that it was the other way around, that I needed you? I needed you. You're my son, no matter how old you are. You're 75, you're still my son.
Guilt trip, guilt trip, guilt trip, guilt trip. Hello, my name is Debbie. Guilt trip, guilt trip. Want to take a vacation today? Guilt trip, guilt trip, guilt trip.
What?
Guilt trip.
Yeah, there's that face. I forgot that face from Colt. Again, I get it, because he doesn't have any guidance, I don't think, and it is completely unfair. I don't know how old he is, but mid-30s, 40, I don't know. And he's been, for years, begging Debbie to find a place on her own. He's been coddling her and giving her months in advance. And from my understanding, his relationship with Vanessa has really suffered. He's desperate to make things work with Vanessa, and so is Vanessa desperate to make things work. And this completely unnecessary guilt tripping and hostility and thorn in their side and invasiveness is ruining his life in a lot of ways. So, I get the pain, I get the anger, and you could argue that he's doing to her what Debbie has been doing to him, right? So it's unfortunate to see. It looks like it's going to blow out.
You guilt trip me all the time. 36, 13, don't matter.
What do you want from me?
I just want...
No, seriously. What do you want me as a mother? What do you want?
Okay, again, that's a good question. It's not in the best context, but if she's actually curious and open or wants to know, which I think she is, it's a great question. And if I were there, I'd be like, Debbie, that's a great question. That's a great question. Colt, what is your, deep breath, Colt, deep breath. The guilt is there. I can sense it. It's like I can feel it. The guilt is, radiating off you. It's there, but you don't have to regard that because it's not fair to you. So, acknowledge it, but don't let it guide you. What do you want? What is if you could wave a magic wand and in 2 years there's a relationship you have with your mom, what would that look like? I'm guessing I'd bet anything it's something along the lines of what I said earlier, where he's like, we talk on the phone once a week, we see each other on holidays, maybe once a month or something, and she does not guilt trip me, and she has other people that she hangs out with. She has me, and we hang out, but we have a regular adult son-mother relationship where we're involved in each other's lives, but it's not nearly as excessive as it used to be. That's what I would want. And then we would hand that to her and say, like, okay, Debbie, how are we going to get there? Because guilt tripping him is, and pressuring him and refusing to move out, refusing to work with him is possibly going to cause Colt to not even get that. He will have to completely cut himself off from you, and there will be no relationship there. So, so I think it's a good question, but I think Colt's in a state where he's not going to really answer that question.
Whatever. I don't care. This is ridiculous.
You don't care?
I can't. I'm sorry. I tried. Goodbye, Mom.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, I get it, but it's a tragedy. They could have, and maybe they will eventually. Maybe this is just a phase they're going through, but it doesn't look very promising. Although there is some positive developments in that she did have some more variance to her responses. She did have a couple moments where I thought she was not on the attack, not on the total guilt tripping mode. So, because I think if you would have answered that in the way that I proposed, I think she might have said like, okay, well, can we up that to seeing each other every 3 weeks instead of every 4 weeks, and then he might be like, okay, I mean, but Mom, you have to stop guilt tripping, they can make some deals.
Jeez, just want to talk to you, just want to have a relationship. Hello, just want to have a relationship. What bull?
Yeah, he's distressed. I think this really cuts him to the core. And I think he's starting to lose it, honestly. You can hear the adrenaline and the pain and the panic in his voice.
Is this? I'll get my tomorrow. I'm leaving, for real. She's yelling at me. She's treating me disrespect. I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, now we're getting into disrespect. And then he says, I think because he's panicking and out of the guilt that he doesn't know how to process, earlier he says, I don't care. He said that. But that's probably the opposite of what's really happening. I think he deeply cares, but he doesn't know how to navigate it and doesn't know what's happening, doesn't know how to work with her. And so now she has this message of, my son doesn't care about me, which is not really what's happening, right? It's what's being resorted to in their communication because of a lack of a family therapist being there to help them.
Feel like leave the house keys. You're not allowed back in here.
Okay, so she's disowning him, I guess, or kicking him out. Again, she couldn't, I don't know. She's living in that house. I think he's paying. Oh, earlier, I don't know if I reacted. I didn't react to it, but I don't know if I showed it, where she says, we're both on the lease. I guess is a way of saying, how dare you move out? Or something. Anyway, I'll just point out that I don't know exactly what she's saying. But so now it sounds like she's going after him. Yeah, it's a pretty big tragedy.
Go away.
Don't do this to me. You
No,
don't give a about me.
I do
That's
care
why
about
you
you.
don't. Did you not care about me?
So we're back to this. We've seen this exact conversation before. That's how it feels to her. That's kind of what he was saying. I don't think that's what he meant. But the guilt tripping, I'm guessing in the past she would use this and it would work. That she would say, you don't love me, and then, no, I love you. And now that he has Vanessa, he doesn't depend on her for attachment and validation. So when this happens, I think he says, well, okay, but I don't need this anymore. I have someone in my corner. So I don't imagine this is going. Now he's pleading, and I think in a way that he's very used to. No, I do care about you. I do love you.
I do. I love you.
No, you don't. You just said, you know what? You, Mom, you've been there too much. What the have I done to you to
What
your
I've done.
life?
My entire life has been your life. You've been the bus driver of my life.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, I mean, they've crossed the threshold, particularly Debbie, that she's just in that zone. It's unfortunate because there's little glimpses of hope there, and now they're just in this zone. And I don't know, maybe it's for the best and they just blow out of each other's lives and figure out other situations. But the thing is that if this doesn't go well, it will hurt both of them for the future. He could experience a lot of distress. He might resent Vanessa, kind of, who knows? He might be really preoccupied. It might start to affect him in terms of worrying about people invading. Maybe if Vanessa starts to ask for things, it's like, oh no, someone's invading, I gotta push away. You know, it's not just this relationship at stake. It could be a lot of things. For her, it could really affect her trust in other people. It could cause her tremendous amount of grief that will never end for the rest of her life, that will really depress her mood and give her some relational anxiety. So, you know, it's not just this situation that is at stake.
Your dad would be so disappointed in you.
Classic guilt tripping by an enmeshed parent. Just classic. That's tragic, but just classic. Another one is, you're killing me. You're going to give me a heart attack. That's another classic from, you know, look what you're doing to me. Or another one is, and at this moment right now, you know what I'm going through right now. Or, you know, that's another classic. But yeah, if you're dead, it's triangulation, and she knows that's where it will hurt. It's like, okay, you don't care about me. I know that you miss your dad, and I'm gonna really dig this knife in because I want to hurt you, and I also am trying to get you back.
You know what, Colt? We're done.
You treat me like a second-class citizen. You. Out of here.
Pretty distressed, upsetting to see. And, yeah, just tragic. I didn't realize it'd get this bad. I mean, this is pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Yeah, and then all because they didn't have a family therapist there with them. Just like, she'll walk away from this going, no one loves me. My son hates me. My son is a horrible human being. I'm not worthy. All because they had a runaway cascade feedback loop where they started out okay and then they, you know, trigger, and now they're here. It just breaks my heart, really.
I'm done. I'm done with my mother. I'm done with this guilt trip.
And I'm pretty sure the way the internet will see it is she is crazy, that she is way too dependent, that, you know, she's a groomer or something, completely unreasonable. And yeah, from the outside, but I don't know. She's suffering. That's why this is happening. People do these things because they're suffering. They don't wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to ruin my life today. They're basically, in their mind, picking from several different evils, from several different deficits. She doesn't want to impose on her son. She doesn't want to depend on her son. She would rather have other relationships, but she feels like that's her only choice. So it's either Colt or no one. And, you know, I think most people in a relationship would rather have a relationship rather than no relationships, right? So she's based on that false premise. I mean, it is accurate in the near term, but not in the long term.
At this point, I don't even want to come back to the house. I have no reason to. Everything I need is with my wife.
By the way, they always blur out things. They blurred out the Mazda logo on the front of that car. You can clearly see it's a Mazda. And why does it have to be blurred out? I just don't understand it. Like, I don't get it. Someone explain it to me.
Hello there.
Hey.
Well, this is actually, it could be bad because it could push this guy away. He's like, oh, this is a little intense for someone that I have not met yet, right? But this is actually good. Instead of trying to convince Colt, which obviously isn't working, or isolating, she's turning to a companion, an actual person her age where they mutually support each other. So this is a positive behavior by her. Hopefully this is okay with him.
Colt was such an ass. Oh my God.
Like he was just saying mean things.
Oh, yeah. My heart is broken. I don't want to ever see him again. I don't.
Yeah, it's just so tragic. It's just upsetting. There was a possibility there, but completely missed opportunity.
I feel really awful. I love Colt more than anything in my life. He's my family. He's my son. And I don't know what to do. I mean,
Yeah, you could say this is irrational, unusual, strange, unfair to Colt, but this is real emotion. This is not faked, I think. I can't know that for sure. It certainly doesn't look fake to me. This is what she's running away from. That pain, that isolation, that rejection, the tremendous just confusion, empty feeling that I'm guessing she's having is what she is trying to find a solution to and has been for many years. And her one solution that she has is to invade and enmesh with Colt and pressure him and guilt trip him. It's not cool, it doesn't justify it, but it does explain it. And if someone were there to help her with this, there are other ways there are other solutions other than imposing on Colt and ruining his life. There are other solutions. And if she had those available to her and someone that could guide her and be with her as she did those things, then, she would do those things. But without someone helping her, like a family therapist or an individual therapist, she's just lost, right?
Tony, I want to be with you so much.
Well, now who knows what'll happen, but there's a risk there where she's now becoming overly dependent on him. That could push him away. I don't know, but it could work out. Let's, I guess, find out what happens.
I hate to show my weaknesses to you. I really do.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. All right, well, that is it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself and take care of others because we all deserve it. We really, really do.